20 years. That's how long I've been behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler, watching America roll by through a windshield that's seen more sunrises than most folks see in a lifetime. 20 years of white lines disappearing under chrome, of diesel fumes mixing with truck stop coffee, of conversations crackling over a CB radio in the deep hours of the night when the highway belongs to us and the stars. They say the road teaches what the classroom can't, and brother, they're not wrong. 2 decades out here changes you. It smooths some edges, sharpens others. It shows you things about yourself you never knew were there, hiding under the surface like those old farm roads that only appear on maps from 50 years ago. So settle in, pour yourself something warm, and let me tell you what 20 years on these American highways really teaches a driver. Not the sanitized version they tell you in CDL school. The real stuff. The lessons that stick to your ribs like truck stop gravy. The wisdom that only comes from a million miles of asphalt and experience. When you start driving, you think of home as that place you left behind. The house with your family, the bed you sleep in, the kitchen table where you eat breakfast. After a few years, something shifts. Home becomes the cab of your truck. That 10 feet of space with its bunk, its little refrigerator, its dashboard covered in whatever lucky charms or photographs keep you company. You learn where every switch is in the dark. You know the exact spot on the seat that doesn't make your back ache after 8 hours. You memorize the particular rattle your truck makes at 65 miles per hour, the one that sounds like trouble to everyone else but you know is just the way she breathes. I remember my first truck. A 2007 Peterbilt 379 with more miles on her than the distance to the moon and back. She had this quirk where the passenger window wouldn't roll all the way up, left a gap about an inch wide that whistled when you hit highway speed. Drove me crazy for the first month. Then one night, running through Nevada with nothing but sagebrush and darkness for company, I realized I'd started to miss that whistle when it stopped. It was the sound of movement, of progress, of home rolling down the highway at 70 miles an hour. You develop routines that would make no sense to anyone else. You know which rest stop in Oklahoma has the cleanest showers. You remember that the truck stop in Amarillo makes the best biscuits and gravy, but only if you get there before 7 in the morning. You've got favorite parking spots at delivery docks across 18 states, little pieces of pavement you claim as yours in a world that's always moving. The seasons change differently when you live on the road. You don't watch leaves turn colors in one place. You chase autumn across the country, watching it paint the trees from north to south like an artist working down a canvas. Spring doesn't come to you. You drive into it, crossing some invisible line in Missouri or Kansas where winter finally gives up and lets the green push through. After 20 years, you stop thinking of trucking as leaving home. The truck is home. The highway is home. That particular stretch of I-40 through New Mexico where the mesas turn purple at sunset, that's home too. Home becomes anywhere your wheels are rolling, anywhere you can watch America slide by in all her complicated, beautiful glory. And when you do pull into your actual house, the one with the mortgage and the mailbox, it feels smaller than you remember, quieter. You find yourself waking up at 3 in the morning listening for the sound of diesel engines, for the hiss of air brakes, for the voices on the CB checking in as they roll through the night. You miss the motion, you miss the road, because after 20 years you've become a thing that's meant to move. In the beginning, you count time like everyone else. Hours, days, weeks. You mark your calendar with delivery dates and home time. You watch the clock like it matters, like those numbers mean something concrete. 20 years in, time works differently. You learn to measure it in miles instead of minutes. You don't think, I'll be there in 3 hours. You think, I'll be there in 200 miles. And those miles might take 2 hours or they might take 6, depending on traffic and weather and the whims of the gods who govern these highways. You develop a different relationship with dawn. For most folks, sunrise happens once a day at a specific time they can look up in a weather app. For a trucker, dawn is a moving target. You might watch the sun come up over the Rockies in Colorado, painting the peaks in shades of pink and gold that make you want to pull over and just stare. The next day, you might catch it breaking over the flat plains of Kansas, all horizontal and vast, and making the whole world look like it's made of light. The day after that, you might miss it entirely, too focused on making time to notice when darkness becomes day. Seasons blur into each other in ways they never did when you were stationary. You can start a run in winter and end it in spring, driving south fast enough that you outrun the snow and arrive in Texas, where the bluebonnets are already blooming. You learn that America doesn't change seasons all at once. It's a patchwork, a quilt of different times happening simultaneously, and you get to move through all of them. The weeks stop having names. Monday means nothing when you're always working. Friday loses its magic when you might be starting a run instead of ending one. The calendar becomes a tool for planning loads, not for organizing your life. Your life organizes itself around different markers: the weather, the traffic, how long until your next oil change, how many miles until you can legally stop and sleep. After a particularly long stretch of night driving, I've watched time do things that shouldn't be possible. I've driven through 3 time zones in 12 hours and felt like I'd left a piece of myself in each one. I've seen the sun set, made good time through darkness, and somehow arrived at my destination to watch the sun set again. Not really, of course. The clock knows the truth, but my body doesn't. My body just knows movement and stillness, light and dark, the rhythm of wheels on pavement. You stop being able to explain your schedule to people at home. When will you be back? They ask, and you want to give them a date, a time, something solid they can hold on to. But you've learned that the road doesn't work that way. You can say Tuesday, but what you mean is Tuesday if the weather holds and traffic cooperates and dispatch doesn't add another stop and nothing breaks, and the shipper actually has my load ready on time. Which is a lot of ifs for a simple question. The strangest thing about time on the road is how it compresses and expands simultaneously. A single day can feel endless when you're grinding through heavy traffic on I-95 in New Jersey, each mile an eternity of brake lights and frustration. But then you look back on a year, and it feels like it passed in a breath, just a blur of highways and truck stops and white lines disappearing under your hood. 20 years feels like yesterday and forever at the same time. Before trucking, weather was something you checked on your phone so you knew whether to bring an umbrella. After 20 years on the road, weather becomes an intimate adversary, a fickle partner, a force you respect more than just about anything else in this world. You learn the smell of snow before it falls. That particular dampness in the air, the way the wind changes direction, how the temperature drops in a pattern you can feel in your bones. You can tell the difference between the snow that'll melt on contact and the snow that's coming to stay, coming to shut down highways and trap the unprepared. I remember a winter run through Wyoming back in 2015 when I learned what real wind means. The Weather Service had issued warnings, but I was young and stupid and confident in a way only a driver with 5 years of experience can be. Thought I could handle it. Thought wind was just wind. The gusts hit my trailer like God himself slapping the side of a tin can. Each one pushed me halfway into the other lane, and all I could do was grip that steering wheel and try to keep her straight. The CB was alive with voices, experienced drivers warning everyone to get off the highway to find shelter to wait it out. I should have listened earlier, but I was stubborn, and by the time I accepted that pride wasn't worth dying for, there weren't many options left. I made it to a rest stop, though I'm not sure how. Watched the wind rock empty trailers like children's toys. Watched tumbleweeds the size of Volkswagens roll across the interstate. Spent 26 hours in that rest stop, waiting for the wind to remember it wasn't trying to kill anyone. And I learned that weather doesn't care about your schedule, your ego, or your delivery deadline. Weather is the bigger thing. Always, freezing rain is the worst. Give me a blizzard any day over freezing rain. At least with snow, you can see what you're dealing with. Freezing rain sneaks up on you. The road looks fine, maybe just a little wet, and then suddenly you're skating, not driving, all that weight behind you trying to pass you up. Your trailer starts wagging like a dog's tail, and there's not a damn thing you can do but ease off the throttle and pray to whatever gods watch over foolish truckers. I've seen ice turn highways into parking lots, into accident scenes that stretch for miles, into graveyards for trucks that thought they could beat the weather. The smart drivers know when to stop. The living drivers learn from the ones who didn't. But weather isn't all terror and danger. Sometimes it's beauty that makes you remember why you fell in love with this life in the first place. I've driven through thunderstorms in Oklahoma, where the lightning turned the whole sky into a strobe light, each flash revealing the shape of clouds like mountains in the sky. I've watched dust storms roll across Arizona like living walls of tan and gold, biblical in their scope and power. Summer brings its own challenges. Heat that turns your cab into an oven even with the air conditioning running full blast. Pavement that gets soft enough to suck at your tires. Dust devils dancing across flat stretches of Texas, reminding you that even calm days have teeth. I've learned to read clouds like a sailor reads the sea. Those high wispy ones that mean weather's changing. The flat gray blanket that promises steady rain for hours. The towering thunderheads that look like anvils and mean you should find somewhere safe before they decide to drop their fury on whatever's unlucky enough to be underneath. You develop a weather sense that goes beyond forecasts. You learn what it feels like when a blizzard is forming, how the air pressure changes before a tornado touches down, the particular yellow-green tint the sky takes on when hail is coming. Your truck becomes a weather station, and you become the meteorologist, making life-or-death decisions based on what you see, feel, and know. After 20 years, you respect weather in a way most people never will. You've seen what it can do. You've felt its power firsthand, been humbled by forces you can't control or predict with certainty. And you've learned that the road can wait. Loads can be late. Money can be lost. But you only get one life. And no amount of pride or pressure is worth risking it against, whether that's meaner than you are. The old-timers used to say, better to be late in this world than early to the next. Took me a few close calls to understand what they meant. When you drive the same highways for 20 years, America stops being abstract. It stops being news headlines and political sound bites, and whatever simplified version people who never travel like to imagine. It becomes real, specific, complicated in ways that make simple opinions impossible. You learn that every state has its own personality, its own rhythm, its own way of being. Texas is exactly as big as everyone says it is, maybe bigger. A place where you can drive for 12 hours and still be in Texas, where the landscape changes from pine forests to desert to plains to hill country without ever crossing a state line. The people wave at truckers down there, still respect the work, still understand that everything they own came on a truck at some point. California is beautiful and expensive and regulated in ways that make truckers want to pull their hair out. But those regulations come with roads that are generally well-maintained, rest stops that are clean, a recognition that infrastructure matters. The Central Valley stretches forever, flat and agricultural, feeding a nation from soil that trucks like mine help make productive by hauling fertilizer in and produce out. The Midwest is the heart of it all. Those straight highways through Iowa and Illinois and Nebraska, cutting through cornfields that stretch to the horizon in every direction. Small towns with grain elevators that look like cathedrals on the prairie. Truck stops where the waitresses remember your coffee order, and the mechanics know their way around any engine ever made. This is working America, the part that feeds the rest, and you can feel it in the land itself. Up in the Northwest, Washington and Oregon are green in ways that seem impossible if you're used to the desert. Rain that falls for days, turning highways slick and making you remember to respect your brakes. Mountains that loom like barriers between the coast and everywhere else. Truck routes through passes that make you grateful for your Jake brake and your guardian angel, in that order. I've delivered loads to every kind of place imaginable. I've backed into loading docks in Manhattan where I had 3 inches of clearance on either side, and a crowd of people watching like it was entertainment. I've hauled freight to tiny towns in Montana where the population sign said 47 people, and I'm pretty sure I met most of them. I've seen America's industrial might in the steel mills of Pennsylvania, its agricultural abundance in California's Central Valley, its technological future in the server farms of the Pacific Northwest. You learn that cities each have their own challenge. Chicago is a maze of toll roads and traffic that never sleeps. Los Angeles is 12 lanes of aggressive drivers and lane changes that defy physics. Atlanta is where highways meet in ways that seem designed by someone who hated truckers. New York is an exercise in patience and precision, where one mistake can trap you in a neighborhood with no way to turn around. But I've also seen small-town America in ways most people never will. I've stopped for fuel in places where everyone waves because they're genuinely happy to see another human being. I've eaten in diners where the menu hasn't changed since 1987, and the food is better than anything you'll find in a fancy restaurant. I've watched kids at rest stops stare up at my truck like it's the most amazing thing they've ever seen, and I remember being that kid once, before I knew what it meant to live on the road. The land itself teaches you. You learn to see how the bones of America run, how the mountains create barriers that force highways into particular paths, how rivers offer natural corridors that humans have followed for thousands of years. The interstate system makes sense once you've driven it enough, once you understand that it wasn't arbitrary, that it followed the logic of terrain and necessity. I've crossed the Mississippi River so many times I've lost count, but it never stops being impressive. That much water, moving that slowly, cutting the country in two. I've driven through the Mojave Desert in August when the temperature outside was 112 degrees, and the air conditioning in my truck was barely keeping up. I've seen the Appalachians in fall, which is something everyone should see at least once before they die. All those hills draped in colors that don't seem real. After 20 years, I know this country in my bones. Not from books or documentaries or Google Earth, but from driving through it, sleeping in it, working in it, being part of the great machine that keeps it running. And I've learned that America is bigger and smaller than you think. Bigger in its spaces, its distances, its diversity. Smaller in the ways people are basically the same everywhere, wanting similar things, treating you with respect if you show them the same. The loneliness of trucking is real, but it's not constant. It comes and goes like radio signals, strong sometimes, fading others. You learn to find connection in unexpected places, to recognize the other souls out here who understand this life without explanation. The CB radio used to be more active than it is now. Back when I started, Channel 19 was always alive with chatter. Drivers checking in, sharing bare reports, warning about accidents ahead, just talking to hear another human voice. Breaker, breaker, this is Midnight Express westbound at the 172. Anybody got their ears on? And someone would answer, and for a few minutes you'd have a conversation with a stranger you'd never meet, sharing the road in voices. That culture has faded some. Young drivers don't use the CB as much. Cell phones and satellites have replaced a lot of what the radio used to do, but sometimes, late at night, you'll still hear the old-timers out there. Still hear someone with the classic handle checking in, making sure they're not the only soul awake in the darkness. And you'll key up your mic and answer because that's what you do. Because we're all out here together, even when we're alone. You develop a radar for other drivers. You learn to spot the veterans just by how they handle their rigs. Smooth lane changes, proper following distance, using their mirrors and their blinkers like they should. You learn to give rookies extra space because they're going to do something unexpected, something that makes sense to them but nobody else. And you remember being that rookie, remember making those same mistakes, remember the grace other drivers showed you when you were figuring it out. Truck stops become community centers at 3 in the morning. You walk in and nod at the other drivers getting coffee, exchanging the brief acknowledgement of people who share the same strange schedule, the same odd life. Sometimes you'll strike up a conversation in line, comparing routes or complaining about dispatchers, or sharing the location of the best pie in Missouri. I've met characters out here who should be in books. Old Pete, who claimed to have driven every road in America at least twice, and could tell you stories about when the interstates were new, and truckers were treated like knights of the highway. Linda the dispatcher, who could reorganize your whole route in her head and save you 3 hours without even thinking about it. Jimmy, a driver from Kentucky who played harmonica at rest stops and had a voice like gravel and honey mixed together. The waitresses at truck stops know us. They remember who likes their coffee regular, who needs decaf, who wants the biscuits and gravy, and who sticks to oatmeal because their doctor said so. They've heard every story, seen every mood, dealt with drivers in every state of exhaustion and frustration and joy. They're part of the infrastructure that makes this life work, and any driver worth their license treats them with respect. You learn to have complete conversations without words, a headlight flash to say your trailer door is open, a wave from a driver going the opposite direction, just acknowledging we're both out here doing the same thing. The whole language of engine brakes and turn signals and CB codes that let you communicate volumes with just a few sounds. But the loneliness is there too, real and heavy sometimes. You miss birthdays and holidays. You miss your kids' soccer games and your partner's bad days and the daily small moments that make up a life. You're physically surrounded by people, Americans going about their business in cars and trucks around you, but you're separate from them, encased in your cab, rolling through their lives without ever quite touching them. I've pulled into my driveway after 3 weeks on the road and felt like a stranger in my own house. Everything kept going while I was gone. Life didn't pause. The lawn grew and the bills got paid and the world spun without needing me there. It's a strange feeling being both essential and absent at the same time. The phone helps, but it's not the same. You can video call your family, see their faces on a screen, hear their voices, but you can't hug them. Can't be there when your daughter needs help with homework or your son has a nightmare. Can't fix the sink or help your spouse with the groceries. You're present but not present, connected but separated by hundreds or thousands of miles of highway. After 20 years, you've learned to manage the loneliness. You've found your coping mechanisms. Some drivers have dogs riding shotgun. Some fill every silence with audiobooks or podcasts or music. Some find peace in the solitude, learn to enjoy their own company in ways people tied to offices never can. You learn that being alone and being lonely are different things, and that sometimes the road gives you the space to think thoughts you couldn't think anywhere else. And then there are moments of unexpected connection that make it all worthwhile. The driver who stopped to help you fix a flat tire in the middle of nowhere. The restaurant owner in Montana who saw you were having a bad day and gave you a slice of pie on the house. The random family at a rest stop whose kid wanted to sit in your truck, and you let them because you remember being that kid, full of wonder at these big machines. We're alone together out here. That's the best way I can describe it. They'll tell you trucking pays well. They're not entirely lying, but they're not entirely truthful either. Money in trucking is its own kind of math, with variables that change faster than you can calculate them. You learn quickly that miles equal money, but not all miles are equal. A load from Los Angeles to Atlanta pays better than a load from Omaha to Kansas City, even if the second one is actually easier. You're getting paid for distance, but also for hassle, for time zones crossed, for aggravation factor and market demand and things nobody bothered to explain in trucker school. Deadhead miles are the enemy. Those are the miles you drive without a trailer, without cargo, without getting paid. You'll do everything you can to avoid them, taking loads you wouldn't otherwise take just to keep from driving empty. Because an empty truck is a truck that's losing money, burning fuel without earning anything to show for it. I learned about per diem and log books and IFTA, fuel taxes and write-offs that make April a special kind of hell. I learned that being an owner-operator means you're not just a driver, you're a small business, and small businesses fail all the time. Your truck is both your livelihood and your biggest expense. Maintenance costs can eat your profits faster than bad weather can slow you down. Fuel prices become an obsession. You watch them like a day trader watches stocks. You learn which states are cheap, which are expensive, which truck stops offer discounts for cash. You plan your fuel stops strategically, sometimes driving extra miles to save 2 cents a gallon, which sounds crazy until you remember you're buying 400 gallons at a time. The feast and famine cycle is real. Some months you're rolling good, loads back to back, miles adding up, money flowing into your account. Other months are slower. Freight dries up. You're sitting at truck stops waiting for dispatch to call with something, anything, watching your savings dwindle while the bills don't stop. I've had years where I made good money, real money, the kind that made me feel like the sacrifice was worth it. And I've had years where I basically broke even after expenses, where I calculated my hourly rate and realized I'd have made more working at a warehouse. It's unpredictable in ways that make planning difficult. But after 20 years, you learn that money isn't everything. I know drivers who made a fortune and hated every mile. And I know drivers who barely scrape by who wouldn't trade this life for any office job in the world. The freedom has value that's hard to quantify. The autonomy, the sense that you're essential, that you're moving the things that keep America running. You learn to save when times are good because bad times always come. You learn that fancy trucks might look nice, but they cost more to maintain than plain ones. You learn that the cheapest fuel isn't cheap if you have to drive 50 miles out of your way to get it. You learn that some loads aren't worth taking no matter what they pay, because the shipper is known for taking 6 hours to load you, or the delivery dock is a nightmare to back into, or the route takes you through traffic that will cost you more in stress than you'll make in money. The economics of trucking make sense if you squint at them right. The whole country depends on freight getting from point A to point B. Someone has to move it. That someone might as well be you, and they need to pay you enough to make it worth your while. But enough is a moving target, and it depends on fuel costs and insurance rates, and what the freight market is doing, and how many trucks are competing for the same loads. I've learned to live within my means, whatever those means happen to be at the moment. I've learned that the latest truck and the fanciest equipment don't make you a better driver. I've learned that sometimes turning down a low-paying load is the smart move, and sometimes taking it keeps you rolling when rolling is what matters most. Money in trucking is like weather. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and you better be prepared for both. Your truck will break down, not might, will. Something will fail at the absolute worst possible moment, probably in the middle of nowhere, probably when you're already late. After 20 years, you've developed a relationship with mechanical failure that's almost philosophical. I've blown tires in Texas heat that would cook an egg. I've had brake drums crack in Montana winter that froze my emergency brake solid. I've dealt with electrical problems that made my dashboard look like a Christmas tree, every warning light lit up and screaming. I've had engines that decided they'd had enough and just quit, leaving me coasting to the shoulder with my heart in my throat and my four-ways flashing. The first time your truck breaks down, it feels like betrayal. This machine is supposed to be dependable. You need it to work. Your livelihood depends on these gears and pistons and electronics doing what they're designed to do. But after a few breakdowns, you learn that trucks are like people. They have good days and bad days. They get tired. They wear out. And your job is to listen to them, maintain them, treat them right, and hope they return the favor. I've learned to hear problems before they become emergencies. That slight grinding sound when you shift gears. Check the transmission before it becomes a transmission. That vibration at 60 miles per hour that wasn't there yesterday. Could be a tire going bad. That smell of burning rubber. Stop immediately because it's probably your brakes overheating and you're about to lose them entirely. Pre-trip inspections aren't optional, they're survival. You walk around your truck, checking tires and lights and fluid levels and looking for anything that seems off. Most days everything checks out fine, but sometimes you catch something. A leak that just started, a tire that's low, a connection that's loose. And that 5 minutes you spent checking might have just saved you from a breakdown 3 states away. You learn the valuable skill of roadside repairs. How to change a tire when you're on a slight incline and the truck weighs 40,000 pounds. How to patch a glad hand leak with duct tape and hope until you can get to a shop. How to reset a finicky sensor that keeps throwing codes for no good reason. You carry tools in your truck that would make a mechanic jealous, and you know how to use most of them. But sometimes problems are beyond roadside fixes. Sometimes you need a professional. And then you learn about truck stops that have mechanics on duty 24 hours and truck stops that don't. You learn which repair shops are honest and which ones see a truck driver and smell easy money. You learn to get second opinions when the diagnosis doesn't sound right. I've sat at truck stops for days waiting for parts to arrive. I've burned through my safety net paying for repairs I couldn't avoid. I've called dispatch to explain that no, I can't make the delivery because my truck is on a lift and nobody can say when it'll be ready. And I've learned that good companies understand and bad companies don't care. And knowing the difference before you sign on is worth more than a few cents per mile. The road tests your equipment constantly. Every pothole, every steep grade, every 1,000 miles of highway friction, metal fatigues, rubber wears, electronics fail. After 20 years, you stop taking reliability for granted. You're grateful for every day your truck starts on the first try, for every run that ends without drama. Trucking is hard on the body in ways you don't expect when you're young and invincible. It's not dramatic. You're not lifting heavy things or running marathons. You're just sitting for 10, 12, 14 hours a day. And somehow that sitting takes a toll. Your back is the first thing to complain. That constant vibration, the imperfect posture, the hours in a seat that's comfortable enough but not perfect. Lower back pain becomes your constant companion. You try different cushions, different positions, different exercises. Some help. None cure it. Your knees start to ache from climbing in and out of the cab dozens of times a day. Your shoulders get tight from gripping the steering wheel. Your neck develops a kink from checking mirrors. After 20 years, you wake up feeling like you've been in a wrestling match, and all you did was drive. Weight is the other enemy. You're surrounded by truck stop food, most of it designed to be cheap and filling rather than healthy. Fried chicken, burgers, gravy over everything. You're tired from the long hours, and cooking healthy meals in your cab takes planning and energy you don't always have. So you make compromises. And those compromises add up, pound by pound, year by year. I've watched my waistline expand despite knowing better. I've felt my clothes get tighter, my energy decrease, my breath get shorter climbing stairs. I've been to doctors who look at my numbers and shake their heads, warning about diabetes and heart disease, and all the things that come from too much sitting and too much poor food. Some drivers fight it better than others. They keep coolers stocked with healthy food. They do exercises at rest stops, walking laps around the parking lot or doing yoga behind their trailers where nobody can see. They treat their body like the machine it is, maintaining it as carefully as they maintain their trucks. I've tried various approaches over the years, diets that worked until they didn't, exercise routines that lasted a few months before the road made them impossible. The best I've managed is damage control, walking when I can, choosing the slightly healthier option when possible, drinking water instead of soda more often than not. Sleep is its own challenge. You're supposed to get 8 hours, but life on the road doesn't always cooperate. You might have to sleep during the day because that's when your 14-hour clock ran out. You might be trying to sleep at a noisy truck stop where engines run all night and trucks come and go with their air brakes hissing. You might be tired but not sleepy, wired from caffeine and stress, and the knowledge that you need to sleep right now if you want to make your schedule tomorrow. I've learned to sleep anywhere through anything, but that doesn't mean I sleep well. The quality suffers. You wake up groggy, not quite rested, running on determination and coffee rather than actual energy. After 20 years, I'm more careful than I used to be. I listen to my body when it's screaming at me to stop. I don't push through when pushing through could get someone hurt. I've accepted that I'm not 25 anymore, that my body has limits. That pride is a poor trade for health. The old-timers used to joke that trucking adds years to your life, but they mean the hard years, the wear and tear years. You're aging faster than the calendar suggests. Your 40 looks like someone else's 50. Your 50 looks like someone else's 60. That's the price of this life, paid in joints and pounds and prescriptions. But I've also learned that your body is resilient. Take care of it, even a little, and it will keep taking care of you. Treat it like garbage, and it will quit on you just like a poorly maintained truck. The drivers who last longest are the ones who figure out balance, who realize that another hour on the road isn't worth the cost to their health. When you're new, dispatchers seem like the enemy. They're the ones giving you impossible schedules and terrible loads, and never quite understanding why you can't just drive faster. After 20 years, you realize they're just people doing an impossible job, caught between drivers and customers, and trying to make everyone happy, which is impossible. I've had dispatchers I loved, ones who knew my truck number by heart, who understood my strengths and weaknesses, who fought for me when I needed them to. Ones who would call with the good loads, who remembered I liked running the Southwest, who knew I had a family and tried to get me home when they could. And I've had dispatchers I'd rather forget, ones who saw me as just a truck number, an asset to be deployed with maximum efficiency and minimum concern. Ones who acted like breakdowns were personal insults, who got angry when weather forced me to stop, who couldn't understand why I wouldn't drive through a blizzard because the customer was waiting. The good ones make this job bearable. They're your voice in the office, your advocate, your connection to loads and home time, and everything that makes trucking work. They'll work with you when things go wrong, because they understand that things always go wrong eventually. I learned to communicate with dispatchers in ways that work. Be honest about what you can and can't do. Don't agree to schedules you can't keep. Don't promise miracles, but also don't complain about every little thing. Save your complaints for when they matter. Be reliable so they know you mean it when you say there's a problem. After 20 years, I've realized that most dispatchers are doing their best. They're balancing dozens of drivers, hundreds of loads, countless variables that change by the hour. Yes, sometimes they make decisions that make no sense from the road, but sometimes we make decisions that make no sense from the office. It's a partnership, even when it doesn't feel like one. The worst thing you can do is lie to your dispatcher. Tell them you're making good time when you're not. Promise you'll be there on time when you know you won't. Act like everything's fine when your truck is smoking and making sounds like a dying buffalo. Because when the truth comes out, and it always does, you've lost their trust. And trust is the only currency that matters in the relationship between driver and dispatcher. I've been with companies where dispatch treated drivers like assets, numbers on a board to be moved around. And I've been with companies where dispatch knew our names, our families, our preferences. The difference is night and day. One makes you feel like a cog in a machine. The other makes you feel like part of a team. 20 years on the road means 20 years of near misses. Situations that could have gone wrong but didn't, usually by inches or seconds or pure dumb luck. Every veteran driver has a collection of these stories, moments when they felt the hand of fate brush past them on its way to someone else. You learn to drive defensively in ways civilians can't imagine. You're not just watching the car ahead of you. You're watching 3 cars ahead, scanning your mirrors, checking your blind spots, looking for escape routes, anticipating the stupid thing that four-wheeler is about to do because they always do stupid things. I've had cars cut me off without signaling, apparently unaware that my truck can't stop like their Honda. I've had people merge into my lane while I was occupying it, like I was invisible despite being 60 feet long and 13 feet tall. I've had drivers brake check me, get angry when I don't tailgate, do everything possible to make my job harder and more dangerous. After 20 years, you stop being angry about it. They don't know any better. They weren't trained to share the road with trucks. They don't understand weight and momentum and stopping distance. They're not trying to be dangerous. They're just ignorant, and ignorance on the highway can be fatal. So you compensate. You give them extra space. You assume they're going to do the dumbest possible thing and plan accordingly. You signal early, brake gradually, change lanes carefully. You make yourself predictable because predictable is safe. I've seen accidents that shouldn't have happened but did. I've seen the aftermath of crashes that turned highways into parking lots for hours. I've given statements to highway patrol about what I saw, even though what I saw gave me nightmares for weeks after. You learn that some drivers are safer than others, not just in trucking but in everything. Some people take risks that aren't worth taking. Some people push too hard, drive too fast, care more about their schedule than their life. And sometimes they get away with it. Sometimes they don't. I've known drivers who died on the road, heart attacks behind the wheel, accidents that shouldn't have happened, medical issues that hit at the wrong time. It's a reminder that this job isn't as safe as people think. We're moving massive machines at high speeds for long hours. The margin for error is smaller than most folks realize. But I've also learned that safety is mostly about choices. The choice to slow down when conditions warrant it. The choice to stop when you're too tired to drive. The choice to maintain your equipment. The choice to treat every other driver on the road like they're your family, because someone's family is in every vehicle around you. After 20 years, I've developed habits that keep me alive. Check my mirrors every few seconds. Scan ahead for brake lights. Keep my escape routes clear. Never trust a turn signal. Watch the wheels of cars more than their bodies because wheels tell you where they're actually going. Maintain space around my truck like it's a force field. Safety isn't sexy. It doesn't make you faster or tougher or more impressive, but it gets you home. And after 20 years, getting home is the only thing that really matters. You remember the big things. The beautiful sunsets, the dangerous situations, the major milestones. But after 20 years, it's the small moments that stick with you. The odd little experiences that made you smile or think or feel connected to something larger than yourself. Like the kid at a rest stop in Tennessee who asked if he could see inside my truck. His parents were nervous, probably worried I'd say no or be annoyed. But I remember being that kid, fascinated by these big machines, wondering what it was like up in that cab. So I showed him, let him sit in the driver's seat, showed him the sleeper berth, explained what all the switches did. His face lit up like Christmas morning. Maybe he'll grow up to be a driver, maybe he won't. But for 5 minutes, I gave him something to remember. Like the waitress in a truck stop in Missouri who could tell I was having a bad day. She brought me pie I didn't order, said it was on the house, told me to hang in there. It was just pie, but it was also kindness from a stranger who didn't have to care. That pie tasted better than anything I'd eaten in months, like the other driver who stopped to help when I blew a tire in the middle of nowhere. He didn't have to. He had his own schedule, his own problems. But he pulled over, helped me jack up the truck, didn't leave until the tire was changed and I was back on the road. I tried to give him money. He refused. Said someday I'd do the same for someone else. He was right. I have. Like driving through fog so thick I couldn't see my own hood, following the taillights of another truck because we were the only two stupid enough to be out in it. Neither of us could see anything else, but we had each other. When we finally pulled out of it, he waved as he passed me. Never knew his name, Never saw him again. But for an hour, we kept each other company through the cloud. Like the sunset over the Rockies that made me pull over just to stare at it. Mountains painted in purple and gold and pink. The sky on fire. The whole world perfect for 10 minutes before the sun slipped away and night took over. Nobody paid me for those 10 minutes. They didn't count toward my schedule or my paycheck, but they counted toward something else, toward the reason I do this. After 20 years, you realize that trucking isn't about the big dramatic moments. It's about the accumulation of small ones. The sunrise you catch just right. The radio station that plays your favorite song at exactly the moment you needed to hear it. The friendly nod from another driver at a fuel pump. The feeling of pulling into a familiar truck stop and knowing exactly where everything is. It's the rhythm of the road, the sound of your tires on pavement, the hum of your engine at cruise speed, the lights of a city appearing on the horizon after miles of darkness, the satisfaction of backing into a tight dock on the first try, the relief of crossing a state line and knowing you're one state closer to home or one state farther into adventure. It's waving at kids who make the arm-pumping gesture for air horns, giving them that blast of sound that makes them jump and smile and remember forever. It's the dog in the passenger seat of a car, watching you with that expression that says, "I would very much like to sniff your tires." It's the wildflowers blooming along the interstate in spring, turning the median into a garden nobody planted. After 20 years, these are the things I remember most. Not the loads or the miles or the money, the moments. The small, strange, beautiful moments that happen when you're paying attention to a world that most people speed through without seeing. When you finally pull into your driveway after weeks on the road, something strange happens. You're home, but you're not quite home. Part of you is still out there, still rolling, still thinking in miles per hour and highway numbers. It takes a day or two to transition back, to remember how to be stationary, how to exist in one place without moving. Your family has learned to live without you, not in a cruel way, but in a necessary one. Life didn't pause while you were gone. Bills got paid, problems got solved, routines got established. You slide back into your spot at the dinner table, but the conversation has moved on without you. They're talking about things that happened while you were gone, events you weren't part of, decisions that got made because you weren't there to help make them. You want to fix things. You've been gone for weeks and now you're here and you want to catch up on everything you missed. But there's too much. You can't compress weeks of life into a few days of home time. You end up feeling like a visitor in your own life, welcome but not quite integrated, present but somewhat separate. Kids grow while you're gone, not metaphorically, actually grow. You leave with a son who's one size, come home to a son who needs new shoes because his feet grew 2 sizes in 3 weeks. You miss the gradual changes that parents at home take for granted. Instead, you get the jarring realization that time doesn't wait, that childhood is happening whether you're there to see it or not. Relationships take work, and trucking makes that work harder. Your partner has been handling everything alone. They're used to making decisions without consulting you, used to going to bed alone, used to a routine that doesn't include you. When you come home, you disrupt that routine. Not intentionally, but by existing, by being there when they're used to you being gone. The smart ones talk about it. They make plans for home time, decide in advance what needs to happen, what's important, what can wait. They understand that home time isn't vacation time. It's compressed living. It's trying to be a parent and a partner and a homeowner and a person all in the brief window before you have to leave again. I've learned to be present when I'm home. Put the phone down. Don't check load boards. Don't think about the next run. Be here now because now is all you've got. Play with the kids. Talk to your partner. Fix that thing that's been broken. Do the normal things that normal people do every day, but you only get to do occasionally. But I've also learned to give everyone space. Coming home after weeks away is an adjustment for everyone. They need time to remember how to share their space. You need time to remember how to exist in one place. It's awkward sometimes. You get in each other's way. You step on emotional toes without meaning to. That's normal. That's the cost of this life. Some drivers have it worse. Divorced 3 times with kids they barely see. Child support payments draining their checks. Ex-wives who use the kids as weapons because the driver chose the road over being home. It's a sad story, but it's common enough to be a cliché. This life is hard on relationships. Anyone who tells you different is lying or lucky. After 20 years, I've learned that home time is precious but complicated. It's where you recharge, reconnect, remember why you do this. But it's also where you feel most clearly the cost of your choices, where you see what you're missing, what you're trading, what you're sacrificing for the freedom and money and adventure of the road. And then, too soon, it's time to leave again. Time to hug everyone goodbye, make promises about the next time you'll be home, climb back into your truck, and point it towards somewhere else. The first few miles are always the hardest. You're torn between where you're going and where you just left. It gets easier as you put distance between yourself and home. The road calls you back, and you answer because that's what you do. 20 years ago, logging was different. Paper logs, 5-day grace periods, drivers fudging numbers because schedules demanded it. Electronic logging devices changed everything. Now the truck knows exactly how long you've been driving, how long you've been on duty, when you have to stop. No more creative accounting. The computer doesn't care about your excuses. Some drivers hate ELDs. Say they take away flexibility, force you to stop when you could have driven another hour, turn drivers into button pushers instead of professionals. Others appreciate the clarity. No more arguing with dispatch about logs. No more worrying about dot inspections and paper trails. The computer says what it says and everyone has to accept it. I've adapted. You have to. The drivers who couldn't adapt either retired or got forced out. That's how change works. The industry moves forward, dragging the reluctant ones along or leaving them behind. Trucks themselves have changed. More electronics, more sensors, more things that can go wrong, but also more things that make the job easier. Automatic transmissions that shift themselves, though old-timers grumble about losing the skill of clutch and gear timing. Collision avoidance systems that beep and brake when they think you're too close to something. Lane departure warnings that buzz when you drift. Some of this technology is good. Backup cameras have saved countless accidents. GPS navigation means you don't get lost as often. Don't end up on roads too small for your truck. Satellite communication lets you check load information without phone calls, but some of it creates new problems. Systems that malfunction and throw codes for non-existent issues. Computers that make driving decisions without understanding the full situation. Technology that adds complexity to what used to be simple. The economics changed too. More trucks on the road means more competition for loads. Rates haven't gone up much, but costs have. Fuel, insurance, maintenance, everything costs more than it did 20 years ago. Owner-operators feel it worst. The margins get thinner, the pressure gets higher. Companies have consolidated. Small mom-and-pop trucking outfits got bought out by bigger companies, which got bought out by even bigger companies. The personal touch is gone from a lot of places. You're a number in a database now, managed by algorithms as much as by humans. But freight still needs to move. Amazon packages still need delivering. Grocery stores still need stocking. Construction sites still need materials. As long as America needs things moved from here to there, someone's going to be driving trucks. The question is just how long humans will be doing it. Everyone talks about autonomous trucks, self-driving rigs that don't need sleep, don't complain, don't ask for raises. The technology's coming. Maybe it's 5 years away, maybe 20, but it's coming. What that means for drivers like me is unclear. Some routes will be automated first. The easy ones. Long hauls on interstates where conditions are predictable. The hard stuff, backing into weird loading docks, navigating construction zones, dealing with weather, that'll probably need humans for a while yet. After 20 years, I've seen enough change to know that more is coming. The trucking industry in 2035 won't look like it did in 2005. Hell, it doesn't look now like it did then. But that's true of everything. Industries evolve or die. Trucking is evolving. Where it ends up, who can say? But I'll roll with it as long as I can because this is what I know, what I'm good at, what I am. 20 years, 7 million miles, give or take. Countless sunrises watched through bug-splattered windshields. More truck stops than I could ever count. Enough coffee to float an aircraft carrier. And here I am, still rolling, though the end is starting to come into view. My body is telling me it's getting close to done. The back pain that never fully goes away. The knees that protest every time I climb in and out of the cab. The weight I can't quite lose no matter how I try. The fatigue that settles deeper now, takes longer to recover from. I'm not the driver I was 10 years ago, let alone 20. Age catches everyone eventually, even those of us trying to outrun it at 70 miles an hour. I think about retirement sometimes. What that looks like for someone who spent 2 decades living on the road. Do I settle down somewhere and try to be stationary? Do I get a normal job with normal hours and normal routine? The thought feels both appealing and terrifying. Appealing because my body needs rest, because I miss my family, because waking up in the same bed every day sounds nice. Terrifying because what am I without the road? Who am I if I'm not a driver? Some guys retire and love it. Spend time with grandkids, work on the house, take up hobbies they never had time for. Others retire and wither. They miss the freedom, the motion, the sense of purpose. They sit at home watching TV and dying slowly, wishing they were back behind the wheel. I don't know which kind I'll be. Won't know until I try it, but not yet. I've got some good years left in me. My truck's paid off, runs well, knows my habits. I've got relationships with dispatchers who treat me right. I know these highways like the back of my hand. There's still some road ahead before I run out of reasons to keep rolling. And when the time comes, when I park my truck for the last time and hand in my keys, I'll have stories. 20 years worth of stories about a life most people will never understand. A life on the margins, at the edges, in the in-between spaces where America does its work. A life of motion and solitude and occasional moments of connection. A life of diesel and distance and the peculiar freedom that comes from going wherever the load needs you to go. This is what I've learned after 20 years on the road. That trucking is harder than it looks and easier than you fear. That the road teaches patience and humility and respect for things beyond your control. That America is bigger than you think, more complicated than simple stories can capture, more beautiful than postcards can convey. That people are generally decent if you give them a chance. That your body will fail before your spirit does. That home is both a place and a feeling, and sometimes they're not the same thing. I've learned that every driver has a story, and most of those stories are worth hearing. That truck stops at 3 in the morning have their own particular magic. That weather demands respect. That safety isn't negotiable. That time works differently when you measure it in miles. That small moments matter more than big ones. That kindness from strangers can save a bad day. That the view from a truck window is better than anything you'll see on TV. I've learned that I'm good at this. That after 20 years, I can handle situations that would terrify a rookie. That I can read the road, predict traffic, navigate weather, back a 53-footer into spaces that should be impossible. That I've earned my place among the veterans, the ones who know what they're doing, who keep the freight moving and the country running. And I've learned that this life, for all its challenges and sacrifices and costs, has been worth it. Not because it made me rich, though I've made decent money. Not because it was easy, because it hasn't been, but because it's been mine. My choices, my roads, my journey. I've seen things and been places and done work that matters. I've been a small part of the great machine that keeps civilization fed and clothed and running. 20 years on the road. And if I could go back and tell my younger self what was coming, what it would cost, what it would give. Would I still do it? Would I still sign up for the long hauls and the loneliness and the pain and the wonder of it all? Yeah, I would, in a heartbeat. Because some of us are meant to move, meant to wander, meant to find our home in the going rather than the arriving. Some of us are truckers, and truckers roll. That's what you learn after 20 years, that the road is never really behind you. It's in you, part of your DNA now. You can park the truck, hang up the keys, try to settle down. But you'll always hear it calling, always feel that pull toward the horizon. Always wonder what's on the other side of that next hill, that next state line, that next sunrise. So for now, I'm still out here, still rolling, still learning. Because after 20 years, you realize that the lessons never stop coming. Every day brings something new. Every run teaches something different. The road is a teacher that never runs out of curriculum. And maybe that's the final lesson, that you never really finish learning how to do this. You just get better at handling what the road throws at you. Better at adapting, adjusting, surviving, occasionally thriving. You become a student of pavement and sky, of distance and diesel, of all the small things that add up to a life spent moving. 20 years, 7 million miles, and I'm still not done. Still got places to see, loads to haul, sunrises to catch. Still got stories to collect and lessons to learn and road to roll. Because that's what we do. We roll. And we keep rolling until we can't anymore. Then we pass the keys to the next driver, tell them a few things we learned, wish them luck. Because they're going to need it. This life isn't for everyone. But for those of us it fits, those of us who were meant for it, there's nothing else quite like it. So if you're thinking about becoming a driver, if you're wondering what 20 years on the road might teach you, here's what I'd say. It'll teach you everything. About the country, about yourself, about what matters and what doesn't. It'll show you beauty and danger and everything in between. It'll test you and change you and make you into someone you weren't before. Whether that's a good thing or not, you'll have to decide for yourself. But I can tell you this. For me, it was worth every mile, every single one. And when I'm old and sitting in a rocking chair somewhere watching the highway from a distance, I'll remember these years as the time I was truly alive, truly free, truly myself. The years I spent rolling through America's heartland, watching her change with the seasons, seeing her from angles most folks never see. The years I was part of something larger than myself. A system that kept the country running, that moved the goods and kept the shelves stocked, and did the invisible work that civilization depends on. 20 years on the road. Best education I ever got. And I didn't have to pay tuition. Just time, miles, and a willingness to keep my eyes open and learn from every moment. That's the deal. That's what the road offers to anyone brave enough or crazy enough to take it up on the offer. So here's to the next driver, to the ones just starting out, full of hope and energy and dreams of freedom. To the veterans still out here, still rolling, still showing the young ones how it's done. To the ones who retired and miss it every day. To the ones who didn't make it home, who paid the ultimate price for this life we chose. Here's to all of us, the knights of the modern highway, the ones who keep America moving, one load at a time, 1 mile at a time, 1 day at a time, until we can't anymore. And then we rest. But not yet, not yet. Because somewhere out there right now, there's freight that needs moving. There's a load waiting. There's a highway calling. And I've got a truck that runs, a license that's clean, and the whole country spread out ahead of me like a promise. So I guess I better roll. That's what you learn after 20 years. You learn to roll. Safe travels, everyone. And I'll see you out there on the road where we belong.